They are rage, brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear, until it is done.
Everything has clearly gotten out of hand now, yes. But it was worth the risk, I assure you.
Hello there, it's good to have you here. I'm the Last Mixer, and welcome back to the channel for the start of the variety content. And I figured we would begin the new era with a bang, as today we'll be taking a look at Doom 2016, the reboot of the franchise that made its debut back with the original classic in 1993. Now, for reference, this is my first Doom game. I have never played any of the originals, so I'm gonna go into this one with some big-ass guns, but also an open mind. And any criticisms I might have should probably be taken with a grain of demon brain. With that being said, let's dive into the demon-slaying chaos. Doom 2016, originally called Doom 4, but later changed to just Doom so that it would be more in line with the idea of it being a reimagining of the original, was developed by id Software and Bethesda Game Studios, while being published exclusively by Bethesda Softworks, and was released on May 13th, 2016 for PS4, Xbox One, and Windows, the latter of which is the version I'll be playing. It also got a release for the Nintendo Switch on November 10th, 2017. Bethesda are known for the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, while id Software works on classics like Quake and Wolfenstein, along with, of course, Doom. It was the first entry in the series since Doom 3 in 2004, so yeah, it had been a while. For those unfamiliar with the series, you play as the most badass of badasses, the Doom Slayer, or Doom Guy. His journey begins when, naturally, a dumbass corporation that was mining energy on Mars opened a portal to hell because why wouldn't you? I don't know, I guess everyone was bored and got tired of all the red dust getting in their ass cracks, so they just said screw it, portal to hell. There is no way that this could go wrong at all. Don't know what you're worried about. Now, of course, everything does go wrong and there ends up being plenty to worry about. There is an explanation for this, as Earth is suffering from a lack of energy, so at least they kept it accurate to real life, and Dr. Samuel Hayden decides to lead the UAC research group, and using the Argent Tower, Argent energy is siphoned from hell. One of the researchers, named Olivia Pierce, decides to become all buddy-buddy with the demons, opening the portal into Mars, and it doesn't take long before thousands of demons start coming through the woodwork, like fangirls at a Justin Bieber concert. I love that the devs chose to go all in with the various audio recordings scattered around the facility levels on Mars, because as order and structure crumbles, it's precisely how I think most corporations would handle things and what they would say in this type of catastrophe, and there tends to be hilarity and irony, not to mention a certain sweet simplicity to it all.
God rested on the seventh day, but imagine how much further along we would be if he hadn't. Remember, the blind council is always watching. Have you filled out your UAC accidental death and dismemberment form yet?
No.
Welcome to the UAC. Now 221 accident-free days.
Are you sure about that?
61,337 UAC members deceased. 81% of the facility is on lockdown.
Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
You also get little bits of story, as you do in many games, by picking up codex entries when exploring levels, which gives you information and lore about various locations, monsters, people, and concepts, both gameplay related and regarding the history and brutal culture of those who dwell down under. And by down under, I do mean hell, but after seeing the Huntsman Spider, Australia just might need Doom Guy after all. Anyway, after he is found on an expedition to Hell in a sarcophagus and brought to Mars, he steps in to clean up the mess, or make new ones, I suppose. His job, and now your job, is to kill absolutely everything and close the portal. This, in essence, is Doom's story. It takes a pretty standard approach to the storyline of small brain, big corporation does stupid thing, and terrible awfulness gets loose, and now it's up to you to figure out what's going on, how it started, and how you're gonna end it. It's not terrible or anything, and I'll go into more detail with spoilers towards the end of the video. Now, with any other game, I might be more critical of a lacking story, but there are a couple reasons why it isn't really a big deal here. The first is regarding Doom Guy himself. He's a silent protagonist, which normally I'm not a huge fan of. I don't know, I just think the lack of voice interaction or dialogue with anyone or anything can result in a fairly boring experience. It was one of my problems with Far Cry 5, but it's not a problem here in the slightest. This is because he doesn't need a voice to get his point across, and you can generally tell how he is feeling in any given instance through his actions alone, and I love this. Doom Guy's personality is informed by what he does, not by what he says. He'll throw terminals out of the way.
I think we can work together and resolve this problem in a way that benefits us both.
Punch a field drone after receiving a gun upgrade, and rip the hand off a dead guy without a second thought, just to unlock the next area where he needs to go.
Access granted.
His brutal efficiency is exactly what he needs to survive, and the only thing the demons fear is him.
He is here.
And it's because he is the only one ready to be as brutal and aggressive as they are, even more so in some cases. He knows what he needs to do, and it's as straightforward as a silent protagonist gets.
Need only to destroy this last filter, and Argent energy will no longer exist in this solar system. We will be back at square one.
The second reason as to why I don't mind the subpar story here is probably a reason shared among a lot of people who have played the game, and maybe even as you watch this video you might have realized already. Doom doesn't need an excellent story and a plot to be awesome. I mean, the originals didn't, and they're beloved classics now, and that same vibe transfers over to this one. The thing that above anything else that needs to hit is the simple but fun gameplay loop, cause that is the beating heart of Doom and why people love it, at least from my point of view. Again, never played the original, so I could be wrong here, but I don't think I am. So let's segue right into the meaty bits of Doom, and probably the reason why you're all here, the gameplay. Now, as a newcomer, I had seen some of Doom's gameplay before, so I more or less knew generally what to expect. However, until you sit down and hop into the chaos yourself, it's a vastly different experience. It's no secret that Doom's gameplay is action-packed and intense, but holy hell, it's rather adept at getting your heart going. It's split into 4 difficulty levels at first, with a final one being unlocked later, and I love how these are named. They could have easily gone with easy, medium hard, and ultra hard / impossible difficulties, as most games do, but instead they gave some flair to each difficulty level. I personally went for the medium option of Hurt Me Plenty, which I'm sure is the name of a BDSM club somewhere. Combat is fine-tuned right down to a T, and with all the different types of demons running around, there are a few things to go over, and what better place to start than with the bread and butter of the Doom Slayer, the guns and glory kills. Before I get into each one though, I gotta say what a flippin' treat it is to not have to reload your weapons. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I pressed the R key after I was done firing in this game and was confused when nothing happened, just based on muscle memory and previous FPS experience. Now yeah, you do have to reload the super shotgun, but it's done automatically and it's a fairly fast reload even before you upgrade it. You'll get a selection of weapons as you progress through the game, starting with your standard energy pistol that has unlimited ammo. It's pretty damn weak, and while you can upgrade it, I can't say I was ever in a rush to do so. It's fine against the most basic of enemies, I suppose, but I can't say that I ever used it against anything else. Next is the combat shotgun, which is pretty solid with the explosive shot upgrade, but I can't say I ever really fell in love with it, maybe because it gets outclassed by a weapon that I did end up falling in love with, the super shotgun. This thing is beefy and deals insane damage at point-blank range, and is one of the more fun weapons in the game, in my opinion. The heavy assault rifle is a decent mid-range option, and the micro-missile upgrade is pretty great.
Got him!
And yes, if there was the option for an explosive-themed upgrade, you bet your sweet war crimes I went for it. The plasma rifle would probably be most games' spray and pray weapon, but it fires plasma bubbles? I don't know what else to call them. Pac-Man pills, perhaps? Anyway, it fires them in a line, so you kind of have to aim ahead of what you want to hit, or most of the line will miss unless the target is big, which makes it a little more difficult to get used to, but the Pac-Man bubble blower is still a solid gun. Next up is Doom's actual spray and pray weapon, the chain gun. It's a minigun. Enough said, really. The rocket launcher, much to everyone's surprise, launches rockets. Yeah, I know. Who saw that one coming? Well, I suppose the demons didn't. Haha! It's fairly inaccurate, but can dish out some serious damage, and becomes a necessity in late-game fights with the lock-on upgrade. Then we have the Gauss cannon, which is a hybrid sniper rifle / plasma cannon. Yeah, it requires more precise aim, but a couple of charged up headshots is all you need to take down some of the tougher enemies in the game. With insane range and minor AoE damage, it saved my ass in a few fights, especially the final boss. Now, onto the two special weapons. The first of which is the chainsaw. Need ammo and tired of cutting down trees? Whip this baby out and rev your way through an unsuspecting demon. It has limited fuel, and the larger the demon, the more fuel is needed to cut through them. But it's still such a fun time, and one of my favorite moments from playing was when I got so tired of fighting the high-damage long-range summoner demon from afar that I decided to take a page out of Left 4 Dead 2's book.
Looks like there's been a change of plan.
Now that leaves us with the BFG, which stands for Big Fucking Gun. Need I say more? Well, I do in fact, because it's the ultimate middle finger to any demon that has ever existed, seeing as it's a one-shot on everything but bosses, and completely disintegrates the bodies, so bonus points for evidence removal. It has very limited ammo, so that you don't just breeze through every encounter, but man, it's fun while it lasts. You'll also get 3 pieces of equipment: a frag grenade, which goes boom, siphon grenade, which turns you into a filthy leech, it steals health from demons, and a hologram, which distracts demons and your weird uncle at the family reunion. So, what do you do after you shoot stuff? Well, the rip and tear slogan seems quite appropriate here. Glory kills are finishing moves performed when you deal enough damage to a demon and stagger them. They give you health, and the animations on display here are absolutely bonkers. Doomguy's personality certainly shines in these, as he'll dismantle demons every which way, and depending on what you aim at when performing the kill, he will focus on a different body part. Body parts soon to be parted from said body. While I tend to dislike excessive gore and have never really been a fan of violence for the sake of it, I believe it should be used to tell a story and not just thrust into a scene for the sake of carnage. I can't deny how fun ripping apart Hell's evil minions can be. Doomguy will rip arms and legs off, sometimes hitting them in the face with their own appendage. He'll rip eyes out, stuff things where they shouldn't be, and stomp in heads and chests. It's gory and intense, no question, and I think that in another lifetime, Doomguy could have been a chiropractor. Chin up, darling. As you rip and tear your way through each level, you'll find weapon upgrade points and pre-outer suit tokens along the way to upgrade your stuff, and ruins offer permanent buffs once you complete the associated trial. However, I almost completely ignored these, so I don't know if they are any good or not. Power-ups do what you would expect, offering a temporary buff, but none of them will ever be as good as Berserk, which allows you to instantly glory kill any enemy, regardless of how much damage they have taken, with nothing but your fists and the knowledge that you are the ultimate badass. Simply wonderful. Doom does, however, give you some moments to smell the burning roses, as it were, and chill out a little bit while exploring the levels to find codex entries and collectibles, as well as secret retro levels from classic Doom. A super cool little touch that tips the hat to those who played the OG Doom games, an awesome idea that honors the legacy of the franchise. All of these gameplay elements add up to quite the selection of ways to deal with the demon hordes, but it never feels overwhelming or overcomplicated. You enter a level, fight some monsters, upgrade your gear, and move on. There is a good amount of variety amongst the demons as well, and you'll fight all of them, small or large, from the fire-throwing imps, to the aerial cacodemons, to the high-damage and tanky barons of hell. All of the demon designs are awesome, and they each have their own strengths and weaknesses, as well as unique glory kill animations. The levels are simple, yet easy to traverse, with some simple platforming along the way, and you'll be navigating through overrun facilities on Mars to the fiery depths of hell, complete with skulls, bloody entrails, and the screams of the damned, because even in hell, it pays off to brush up on your interior decorating skills. While I will admit that the bright green armor and bright blue health pickups across the levels take away some of the intimidation factor of the hell levels, it's not really a problem and more of a nitpick. The levels just look awesome, dripping with atmosphere, and fit the vibe perfectly. Some of the insta-kill zones on some levels can be a bit finicky to avoid though, since the jumping in Doom lacks control, at least without any upgrades, so I got frustrated sometimes when I would jump and not really be able to control my landing properly, and die. Not a huge problem, but it's certainly there. What isn't a problem though is the music, and it wouldn't be Doom without a totally metal soundtrack. Rock on, my dudes! Nah, but seriously, the soundtrack is phenomenal, and as someone who isn't normally a fan of heavy metal, mostly because of all the screaming, with this purely instrumental stuff, yeah, I'm into it, and it's yet another thing that fits the vibe just perfectly. One nice little detail is how the soundtrack will kind of stop for a second as you perform a glory kill. It's a really nice little touch that emphasizes the moment and adds a little va-va-voom to the gameplay, cause, as we all know, variety is the spice of hell. Doom doesn't throw too many things towards you and slowly ups the challenge as the story progresses, offering an accessible experience that keeps it simple and fun. All too often games will chuck in new mechanics willy-nilly in hopes of spicing things up, but all it does is overcomplicate the whole thing and confuse people. Doom isn't interested in this. It gives you the right tools at the right times and says, have at 'em and have fun. It's not here to be a tense survival horror game where you have to use stealth and conserve ammo, or tell a deep and meaningful story, and that's 100% okay. It's good to have simple, chaotic, fun games that are meant to just be a good time, and to have those that have meaningful, emotional stories and exist to make you care and make you think. Both have their place in the world of gaming. Speaking of story, I'm going to segue into the spoiler section of the video now, so if you don't want Doom's story spoiled for you, I suggest you click away now.
Tactical nuke incoming!
Samuel Hayden, the director of the UAC, and Olivia Pearce, the researcher, will have conversations in various hologram messages, culminating in the demons betraying Olivia and breaking the pact that she had with them. Don't really know why, it's not really explained. She then turns into a demon spider mech, I mean, don't we all on a Friday night, and proceeds to try and murder you. It's a pain in the ass boss fight, I gotta say, with some difficult aspects to it, but I got through it eventually, and of course Doom Guy does what he does best, and finishes off Spider Olivia with style. After getting the Crucible, a magical key-like blade that can shut down the portal to Hell, Doom Guy is teleported back to Mars, where Hayden catches the asshole disease, and rather predictably betrays you when he yoinks the Crucible from Doom Guy and explains his reasoning.
You think the only way is to kill them all, leave nothing behind.
Obviously, yeah.
And you may be right. But we can't just shut it all down. Without Argent energy, it will be worse. I don't expect you to agree. But with this, we can continue our work. I am not the villain in this story.
Yes, you are. You know how I know that? Because I just killed the giant Megamind demon spider bitch, and she fit no other role than the villain. Now that you're being a dick and stealing my shit, you fill that role, my man. Anyway, he sends Doom Guy to an undisclosed location and says,
Until we see each other again.
and that's how the game ends. Kudos to the devs for putting together a kick-ass end credits sequence as well. They didn't have to put this much effort into it, but they did, and I appreciate it. Now, while Doom doesn't have a bad story, its biggest strength is absolutely the high-octane gameplay that pairs really nicely with simple, solid level design and a soundtrack that would pump up even Mary Poppins to slay some demon dickheads.
Perfect in every way.
The gameplay isn't really that deep, but I never got sick of it, and was always finding new ways to deal with incoming foes. Well, I say that, yet 80% of my strategy really just boiled down to explosives and the super shotgun, but yeah, whatever. It's easy to say that Doom is just a game about killing demons, and leave it at that. The thing is, you wouldn't be wrong to say that, and I think everyone is okay with that, because that's what Doom has always been, and probably why the slower survival horror approach that Doom 3 took rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because it strayed too far from the path that the first games laid out, and Doom 2016 was a return to form. Plus, when Dead Space came along in 2008 to scare the crap out of everyone, I think a lot of people kinda forgot about Doom 3. While the game does kinda lean into some of the horror elements, I mean it's kind of hard not to when horrendous murderous creatures are lurking about. Stealth is not a thing at all, and as someone who doesn't particularly enjoy stealth games or forced stealth sections in non-stealth games, this was a win in my book. There is something to be said about the less is more approach, and Doom's secret brilliance is just in being simple enough to not overcomplicate things and pad out the length of the game, but also not being so simple that it becomes stale and boring with little variety in the moment-to-moment gameplay. Doom excels at being pure, cathartic fun that doesn't try too hard at anything other than being action-packed awesomeness. And that is Doom 2016 and the art of simplicity. Thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then consider giving it a like and subscribing. The support is always appreciated. Much love, take care, and until next time.